Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Craig Stern. I am the founder and sole designer at the moment of Sinister Design, an independent game development group. I make RPGs and strategy games, but right now I'm not. Right now I'm doing my first ever Let's Play. This is a game that I played a lot as a kid, and it had a huge influence on me, both as a developer and as a gamer. This game is called Shining Force. It was released by Sega in 1993. It wasn't the first tactical RPG, but it was the first tactical RPG that I ever heard of, and I loved the hell out of it. So I'm going to play this game now and share with you what I think is, at least for the time, a really exceptional game, and it still holds up pretty well today, though in a lot of ways it's fairly simplistic compared to the kind of tactical RPGs we're used to in the modern day. So this right here is just giving you some of the background to the story. It's, let's be honest, not the most original or interesting story. It's your typical evil force gets defeated, gets sealed away for 1,000 years, then it comes back, and there's a hero of legend who's gonna put it back away again, and there's a nation of people who are influenced by the bad guy, who are trying to release it again, and, yada yada. It's pretty standard RPG fare. This is not a game you play for the story so much as for the really cool tactical battle system and the fun characters. Not her. I'm not including her as a fun character because, frankly, she's just kind of annoying. And she doesn't actually appear in the game except to, I guess, make you care about the plot, which, the more, like, minute details about the actual characters and the battles are kind of cool, but Dark Dragon, I don't really care about Dark Dragon. I don't know about you. Let's see, blah blah blah, 1,000 years passed, he threatened to return. If there's anything, Dark Dragon's behind the evil hordes of Runefaust. Yep, probably, little girl. I think you're probably right about that. I need to tell someone about this, but who would listen to a kid like me? Well, I don't know, anyone who's ever played an RPG, maybe? Because that's always, like, the prophecy's always true. There's always the bad guy. He's always coming back after 1,000 years, or 500 years, or whatever the interval they have set is for that bad guy coming back. So, oh, look at this. Does it actually remember one of my old games? How interesting. When you first start this game, and you don't have any saved games yet, new is the only option that appears on the screen. So, when she says, "Will you help us? Come on, it'll be an adventure," your options are literally start a new game or turn the game off. Which I think is a pretty funny version of But Thou Must. Let's do a new game, because, oh yeah, look at that, it definitely saved my game. I tried doing a Let's Play before this, but my girlfriend walked in and kind of ruined it in the middle. So, I'm starting over. This is going to be with slot 2, I guess. Those aren't actually different adventures, they're just saved slots. I decided, when I tried my failed first Let's Play a little while ago, I was going to name this character after his hairdo, because he has some pretty ridiculous hair, let's be honest. And luckily, this game leaves just enough room for you to name your hero Buffon, so that's his name. So, you get 2 guesses what happens in this chapter. I like it how the game starts off with you getting the crap kicked out of you by your mentor. I can't remember if there's any bush that has anything in this particular town, but in a lot of them you'll find like healing herbs and such in some of the bushes. This right here, the guy with the crazy sideburns, this is your friend Lo, who has gray hair for reasons I don't entirely understand. Maybe he's just prematurely graying. He is going to be your healer very soon. He's not the only healer you get in the game, and actually he's one of the worst healers. In fact, now that I think about it, most of the characters you get at the start of the game aren't very good. But, you know, you have to use them at least for a little while. Yep, well, you're a healer, dude. There's a reason you don't use swords. So, this is like the first part where you get to actually explore a little. And this is something that sets Shining Force apart, is these little exploration sections. There aren't too many things that are really worth seeing in a lot of these towns. Like, you'll find some stuff hidden in certain areas. But by and large, people have a single line of dialogue per person, and you're not going to find too much stuff of value just randomly checking things. Let's see. I like how this guy has a cart that just randomly rolls away. One has to wonder what he's actually doing with the cart. Oh, there's the cart. Yeah, for some reason I don't entirely understand. There are two separate options for search and talk. There is never one thing in this entire game where you will have separate options in terms of like searching and talking, right? Like if I search someone who I can talk to, nothing will ever happen. If I talk to something I can search, nothing will ever happen. I can think of no reason at all for them to have two separate options for this, other than just, I guess, bad user interface design. Let's see. Oh, good! I've always wanted to talk to Grandpa. I bet he has really fascinating things to say, too. Well, I bet he was. Someone with a name like Grandpa, you know he's gotta be a good fighter. That's all I'm saying. And here's this dog just standing in my way. It's really kind of annoying. Oh good, there we go. I don't know if you've ever played Fallout 2, but there was one thing they did in it that, at the time, was a pretty unique mechanic, where they let you push people out of the way if they were blocking you in, which, let me tell you, is a feature I would love to have in this game, because it's really annoying getting boxed in by people. Thanks! You know there's no way in hell my character didn't already know that, but I guess it's good to hear it from him. Yeah, well, you know, you might think these guys are like kind of arrogant and annoying, but the fact is, your character does actually kind of suck at first. Like, he's level 1. Cool. Well, I would like to know how this centaur, because these guys are centaurs, I would like to know how he sleeps on that bed. Like, wouldn't they have like a stall or a stable or something where they sleep? I don't know, just something to think about. I would imagine that if I had, like, you know, hooves and weighed, like, you know, 600 pounds, I'd probably screw up a bed laying on it, but that's just me. That is the story, Varios. Well, I guess it's my turn to hear the story then, isn't it? Oh, so that's why you're called Guardiana, because you guard the gate. I get it. That's a very clever name there. Not really. But whatever, it's cool. I guess we'll listen more of what the king has to say. Hopefully it's more informative than that. Okay, maybe not. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. Really? How did we do that, King? Really? So, an entirely different country just straight up invaded your kingdom and you just kinda didn't notice? Is that what happened? At all costs, and at once. That is how we must stop it. So check this out. Here's another one of those but thou must options. If you say no, the king won't make you, but you can't leave town. You literally have no option but to just wander around aimlessly and then eventually come back and change your mind. So at this point you probably think, oh okay, I'm gonna go down to town and talk to people and see who will join my group. No, that's not what happens. This is what happens. So basically, they tell you to go to town and gather your crew, even though your crew's already at the castle, and they have to go run after you when you go to find them. It's kind of ridiculous, but whatever. Again, this is not the best written game. Now here's Lo. I mentioned he's kind of a crummy healer. But, at least for the very beginning of the game, he's the best you've got. Now this guy's name is Nova. As you can see, he has, like, fish fins for ears. I don't really understand what that's about. It's never really explained what exactly he is, or what race he is, or... You never see anyone who looks like him any other time in the game. It's sort of weird. Now, in other parts of the game, you can recruit optional characters. Like, they're not all just going to randomly show up when you walk into town like that. Like, this guy here. Sure, I would love to hear your story, Grandpa. Well, what about the story? Now I have to hear a secret? Fine, tell me your secret. Now, of course, you can't actually give him a good offer at this point. It's not really entirely clear why, other than the fact that you have, as you can see, 0 gold. You are literally the poorest person in all of Guardiana. It's not entirely clear why. I mean, you're reasonably well dressed, as a Guardiana citizen goes. You have what is actually, at this point in the game, a pretty great weapon. A middle sword. You don't even get the option to buy those until a fair bit later on. So I guess I'm supposed to assume that I spent literally all my money on a middle sword, and now I'm completely broke. Well, let's talk to the king again. I can only assume that that is the first instance of government welfare in all of Guardiana history. Because otherwise my guy would not have had 0 gold. Would have had, I don't know, maybe like some manner of food stamps, maybe some healing item stamps. I like how this guy tells you not to mind the boss, even though you've never talked to the boss. Medical herbs are basic healing items. You use them when your guys are hurt, and they don't do very much, but when you start the game, your characters have such low maximum hit points that they're actually pretty useful to start with. Later on in the game, you're going to need to purchase these crazy expensive healing seeds if you want to get any sort of useful healing effect. So here's the boss you can talk to. As you can see, he's experiencing a kind of existential malaise as an item shop owner. Just doesn't do it for him anymore. Kind of like someone who's been playing too much Reciteer, I guess. Now these guys ordinarily won't let you out of town unless you've talked to the king, but since we've talked to the king, they'll let me go. Oh yes, okay, before we go I have to... Remember that centaur that wouldn't let us sleep in his bed, that he apparently sleeps in? Well, now that we've been selected to be Lord Varios's leader of the Shining Force, we go back and talk to that guy. He throws a little tantrum. It's kind of funny. Arrgh! Yeah, there's nothing of value in his room, unfortunately. I would like nothing better than to raid it, though, for supplies. Oh, what's this? Now they're in formation all of a sudden. So apparently, the forces of Guardiana train by standing in formation and shouting "Sir, yes, sir" at increasingly loud volumes. Probably not the most effective training regimen, but, you know, it's something. So this right here is headquarters. You can see why you can see where I got some of the inspiration for the structure of Telepath RPG Chapter 2 and by extension Servants of God. You can go down here and talk with your guys. You don't get, unfortunately, anything at all like a real dialogue tree, but your guys do have like different backstories and personalities, and they'll say different things when you go and talk to them, which I, as a kid, thought was just awesome. I loved that. Like, that wasn't something you got in pretty much any other RPGs of the time. Like, you know, Final Fantasy IV, you would never, ever have the option to go and just talk to people in your party. All of the talking was handled automatically by the game as you progressed through the storyline. So I always thought that was really neat. Here you can see we're getting taken by cart to the Gate of the Ancients. This guy really likes the word blast. Fun fact, if you don't click to advance the dialogue here, the earthquake lasts literally forever. But I'm not going to make you sit through that. Alright, so here we are in combat for the first time in the game. And you will probably notice some similarities to Telepath RPG. Once again, I drew a lot of inspiration from this game when I was developing the combat system. Your characters have a limited movement that they can go from their starting space, and you manually control them as they move around. Pardon me. So, as you can see, I'm not getting to select the order that my guys move in. The game handles that automatically. Characters move in a set order based on their agility stat. So right now, all the characters with agility of 5 are moving. My hero, as you can see, only has an agility of 4, which is why it takes so long for the game to get to him. Now, I'm going to retreat from this battle because there are big advantages to not immediately going into it. Ordinarily, you don't retreat from battles that way. You have a spell called Egress, which I gather is sort of like the opposite of Progress, where you back out of the battle. Now, if you want a ridiculous flying squirrel on your team, which I assume is what this thing is, I've heard there's a way to recruit him. I never figured it out myself. I also hear, though, that if you do get this guy, that he's absolutely awful, like the worst character in the game by far. Frankly, I wouldn't even want him on my team because he just looks too completely ridiculous for me. This guy, on the other hand, is a monk named Gong, and he is fantastic. Now, I like how he just kind of decides he's going to be part of your team. I am Gong. I have fought the evil Room Pass for many years. I will aid you. What if I don't want him on my team? Well, tough shit. There he goes. He's now part of the Shining Force. You can't get rid of him. He's made up his mind. And then he pushes you out of the way. Kind of a pushy guy, but a really useful fighter. Interestingly, he has a giant axe that he just leaves behind and decides instead he wants to punch all the enemies. Maybe not the smartest choice, but, you know, if you build him up, he can actually be a pretty good fighter, even though he's decided not to use the giant axe that he clearly has. That was deep, man. You're a deep fryer. Sorry. Anyway, so, anytime you want to save, resurrect dead characters, promote characters, or cure characters of various, persistent ailments, usually like curses and such, you need to find a priest. They're the ones who handle it in the game. So, let's save. Yes, let's make a record. That was some very dramatic music for saving your game. Yes, I will. I will continue. Thank you very much, Mr. Fryer. You may remember, just a few minutes ago, the little elf girl Simone saying that she was going to check up on us. You don't ever actually see her again. That was all a lie, apparently. All of your recorded adventures take place through priests. She has no role whatsoever to play in it. The AI in this game, as you're going to see a lot of examples of this, it isn't the best. I'm not sure if it was just like a matter of, you know, they couldn't code it efficiently based on, you know, the hardware that they had to deal with at the time or what, but a lot of battles have these sort of scripted AI setups where enemies just stay in one place until you get really close. And only then will they attack. So like this guy, he stays all the way up there and doesn't do a thing until he's basically the only person left. Unless you're foolish and you move your guys really close to him, and then he'll attack them. These guys also will stay up there until you move past a certain point. I think you have to move up here, or maybe it's up here, and then they'll attack you. These guys just straight up won't move at all. They're just going to stand there. So, theoretically, you could just take your ranged units and pound them from a distance, and they'll just sit there and take it, and they won't be able to retaliate. But that would be kind of boring, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to soften them up a little before I move in, though. Yeah, see, if they're just standing there, they're like, oh, I just got hit with a fireball. That kind of sucked. Well, whatever, I'm still just going to stand here. The most experience a character can ever gain in this game is 48. And it takes 100 experience to gain a level. So you can kill 2 enemies and you still won't gain a level, even if you get the maximum amount of experience from it. I'm not entirely sure why they decided to do that, but it seems to work okay. Now, goblins are pretty bad as enemies go. They deal very little damage. And actually, the amount of damage they just dealt to Ken is unusually high. Ken just happens to have exceptionally poor defense. It's just, you know, he's a pretty good character other than that, but yeah, his defense is just terrible. So here's a fun fact. In this game, you get healed by fairies putting fairy dust on you. That's how it happens. That's the magic. Why? That I couldn't tell you. All I know is, apparently, fairy dander is how you get healed in this game. Unfortunately, archers in this game really aren't very good. Hans starts off the game pretty good, but I don't know, you'll see in a minute when my guys start gaining levels. There are different things that can happen. They randomly give you usually 1 to 2 points in a randomly chosen category. And some characters are more likely to gain points in certain categories than others. So Hans, unfortunately, because of the way he's programmed, almost never gains attack power. He'll gain agility, which makes him go quickly and gives him a chance to evade attacks, but by the end of the game, the damage he deals is just pitiful. Even though it's pretty useful right now. Now, these Dark Dwarves are pretty serious stuff. If they double attack your guys in this battle, there's a pretty good chance your guys are going to end up dead. Now, what I think I'm going to do is leave these guys back here and then fall back. Luke has exceptionally good defense for this point in the game, so I'm going to have him be the one character on the front line who can get hit from 2 directions. Alright, here's Gong. I'd like to have him start gaining some experience, but I don't see a good opening just yet. Oh, look at that. I guess that guy's all alone right now, huh? Yeah, why don't we take him out? And I don't mean to dinner. Nah. You know, I don't want to grind in this playthrough, so I'm going to avoid using characters who aren't as good, because I want to reserve the experience points for characters who remain pretty useful throughout the whole game. Alright, here's our first level up, this time for Ken. His maximum hit points increased by 4, which is really good. None of his other stats did, though, which is a little unfortunate. But, 4 hit points is a pretty big deal at this point in the game. As you can see, Gong can summon the magic healing fairy. However, he has not very good levels of magic points, which means he can only do it twice per battle at this point. Alright, this is going to be a problem if both Dark Dwarves are able to attack the hero. I could end up losing this if the turn order doesn't favor me. Luckily, it looks like I'm going to be able to move my hero somewhere relatively safe. The cautious thing to do would be to use a healing herb, or a medical herb. However, I think what I'm going to do, and hopefully I don't completely screw this up, I think what I'm going to do is rely on the turn order to protect me. Right, I don't think that Dark Dwarf is going to go again before I have a chance to heal my hero. And if I'm wrong, then of course I will probably lose. Oh, that's not good. I was kind of hoping I could move Luke up into that spot to give someone with healing powers access to the hero. Alright. Well, this is bad. Let's, luckily, because that goblin just moved, he's probably not going to move again. Let's try to take out this Dark Dwarf, and hopefully Gong or someone else will be able to help out my hero before that other Dark Dwarf goes again. Oh, okay, and I've just lost the battle. That's too bad. Oh, really? That's interesting. I wonder why that happened. Ordinarily, I think he... Okay, yeah, I guess it's just a matter of the combat damage and this being somewhat randomized. Remember, last time that guy attacked my hero, he dealt 7 damage, which is a whole heck of a lot more than 4. It's almost a 50% difference. Now, because you lose battles in this game when your hero dies, you might think it's a good idea to just kind of keep your hero out of the way, but actually it's not. Because here's the thing, if you don't build up your hero through these battles, he becomes really, really, really bad by the end of the game, and literally any attack by anyone will kill him in one hit. Which is a pretty frustrating state of affairs. It's not something I recommend doing. And actually, if you go to the trouble of leveling up your hero, by the end of the game, he's actually one of the more powerful characters in the game, which I think is pretty neat. Alright, let's get Gong some experience here. Not really any spot for Hans to attack from, is there? Just leave him here. We'll move Ken up so that Lo has some shielding. Oh, I hate that. Evasion is something that has always annoyed the crap out of me in this game. Because it very rarely gives you any sense of how often an enemy will evade. The best thing you can do is just kind of eyeball their agility versus your attacker's agility and guess. This isn't like Fire Emblem where you know, going into it, exactly what chances your characters have to hit. Alright, so that bad guy up there just went. So now would be a good time to launch an attack if I were going to do that. However, I think I'm going to just creep up a little bit to make sure all of my characters can get into position next turn. Okay, now you might notice that Lo has 1 magic point. That means he's basically useless at this point. Unfortunately, that happens in this game, because characters don't regain magic points during battle. There's no option to, like, rest, like there is in, say, Telepath RPG. So once your magic users hit 0 magic points, they're basically useless. Ah, and Luke leveled up. There we go. Not the most impressive level up I've ever seen, but better than nothing, I guess. Now, as you can see, the Rune Knights don't mess around. They deal some serious damage. So we can't let this guy live very long, if we want to live very long. Luckily, Dao is really useful at killing Rune Knights, since her magic bypasses their armor. I'm gonna heal Ken real fast, and then feed this Rune Knight to someone who I'd like to gain more experience. Bouffant! He's all yours. So, apparently Guardiana is being attacked. I'm not sure, honestly, why they bothered attacking the gate first, since it only alerted Guardiana to the fact that Runefaust was there. But I guess it didn't really matter, because Guardiana got its butt kicked anyway. And by a bunch of goblins, no less, which is pretty embarrassing, if you think about it. I mean, that centaur guy, who was super jealous of you, he couldn't hold off a bunch of goblins. Well, maybe he didn't deserve to head up the Shining Force, know what I mean? Now you might notice that Hans is dealing less damage here than he was before. That's because of something called the land effect. When your characters stand on spaces that have a high land effect, it increases their defense. There, remember how I was telling you about how Hans doesn't really gain attack points ever? He just gains agility. Yeah, that's pretty much par for the course, what you just saw. That's him throughout the entire game. Eventually, he will become completely useless. Now, if you look in the top left there, where it says land effect 30%, that's why our characters are dealing 30% less damage. It's because the spaces the enemies are on also have a land effect of 30%. Not that I can show you that now. Unfortunately, the land effect also has an effect on how far you can move, which means that a significant portion of this battle is spent creeping up a couple spaces at a time. It's actually pretty obnoxious. Like, as you can see, some of my guys can't even move at all. Reminds me of those desert battles that they have sometimes in the Fire Emblem games, where you're basically stuck just creeping along little bit by little bit. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is pretty much the most boring battle in the game. There's not a whole lot to say about it, other than that they really should have playtested this a little bit more, I think. Hans is going to be useful simply because he can actually reach the enemies relatively quickly in this battle, relative to the other characters. And here's another example, of course, of the AI being kind of dumb and scripted, is those goblins are just going to sit there and take it until you actually move someone next to them. At no point are they going to go attack the, the defenseless archer who's basically just standing right there, begging to be killed. Which, I don't really understand why they did that. I guess maybe they decided this battle was enough of a slog without having the enemies actually use the terrain to their advantage. Alright, let's take out some of these guys. Oh, good. Well, Gong's probably not going to finish him off, but Gong can stand a hit or two, so he'll be okay. Ah! He's running away. Look at that. Guess maybe he didn't like getting beaten up by a monk. Okay. Well, you know what, I'm gonna leave him for Gong. Gong really needs some experience points. He needs to start gaining some more magic points so he becomes more useful as a healer. wonder where Gong is at. Okay, he's got 82 experience. Characters all level up at 100, so I think if he kills that goblin, he'll probably be able to level up. And he's running away again. That's fine. I didn't want to have him kill that goblin anyway. Yeah, that's not true. I do want him to kill the goblin, but you know. Sometimes in life, we have to settle for things that aren't exactly what we want. Oh, no, there we go. Good job, Gong. Way to punch him in the face. Okay, that's useful, right? His defense increased and his speed increased. That will make him more useful. I would have preferred it if his magic points had increased, but, you know, I'll settle for defense and speed for right now. Now, I could move Bouffant up here and have him attack, but I don't want to put him in a position where he can be surrounded easily, so I'm going to leave him here. I think I mentioned this, but enemies in this game really like to sort of gang up on your hero if they get the chance. Which makes sense. It's, you know, it's the only way they can actually win the battle, is by taking out your hero. Look. The goblins are doing that I'm just going to sit here thing again. Alright, that's fine. Just let Gong beat up on you some more. One thing I like about this game is you'll notice the terrain that the characters are standing on actually changes based on what kind of spaces the characters are on the battlefield. I think that's kind of a neat trick. I love the fact that you have these goblins that are carrying these giant swords, right, that are like almost as tall as they are. They lift themselves bodily up into the air swinging them, and then they deal like 1 damage. All I'm saying is Runefaust really needs to reconsider who it's recruiting for its army. Now that is a pretty darn good level up right there. That, in and of itself, is going to make Bouffant a much more useful fighter. I honestly think it's a little disappointing that the AI is so unreactive in these early battles. Just kind of takes a formation and doesn't really break from it. Like, it would be interesting if it at least tried to go for, like, Hans or Low through that little gap I left there. It would make the battle feel a little less tedious. Nice little double attack there from Gong. I'll net him a cool 12 experience points. Nothing to sneeze at. Alright. Oh man, maybe, is it possible? Could it be true? Is Dao finally going to get a chance to cast a spell in this battle? That'll be exciting. she ever gets a turn, that is. 2 points of damage. That's a pretty big payload there for a goblin. No, I spoke too soon. She can't make it all the way over there. Oh well. Well, we can have low heal Gong. I guess that's useful. Now at this point you might be thinking to yourself, okay, we've seen these attack animations about, you know, 2-3 dozen times now. Is there some way to turn these off to speed up the battle? And the answer is no. There is not a way to do that. Which is kind of unfortunate. Particularly in battles like this where it's just agonizingly slow getting from the starting point over to the end of the battle. Luckily there aren't too many that are like this in the game, but they do exist. Oh, for the love of God. Now this is risky. I'm not sure that it's a good idea for me to put Luke over here. He might die. On the other hand, maybe Gong will get a turn before both Dark Dwarves get a chance to go. Oh no, he's going for my hero. Interesting. And Buffon evades. That's always a nice feeling when that happens for your guys, but there are certain enemies in this game that evade at rates far surpassing any of your characters, and that gets pretty obnoxious. We'll be seeing some of them in a battle or two, the giant bats. Oh, hey! First spell of the battle. Alright, Dow, take this sucker out. Hey, level 2, there we go. That is, right there is extremely useful. That puts her at 10 magic points, which means she can cast Blaze level 1 5 times per battle now. Might not seem like a big deal, but it is. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have him just, well, I don't know, how much life does this guy have left? 8. Yeah, so Gong's not gonna take him out this turn. I think I'll just have him heal Luke. Oh good, we can finally get around this guy. And another attempt on Buffon's life. Come on, dwarves. You know you're not going to succeed. Okay, that's cool, you double attacked. Dealt a lot more damage than I thought you would. I hope you're proud of yourselves. But, you're still not gonna kill him, and you know you're gonna die. Like, honestly, I feel a little bad for that Dark Dwarf. He's gotta know he's not gonna survive this. There's like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys against 1. He's got 4 hit points left. Like, he's clearly not coming out of this and seeing his dwarf wife and dwarf kids again. But, you know, I guess that's what happens when you side with the evil of Runefaust. Or whatever. It's never really explained why Runefaust is quote-unquote evil in this game. They just kind of are, because, you know, they want to unseal the evil Dark Dragon. We never really know why they want to unseal it. I feel like in games of this era, you never really had to have a motivation as a villain, right? You just kind of were evil, and that was it. And people just kind of had to accept it. You know what? You're the good guy, they're the bad guys, and that's all there is to it. Man, I can't tell you how good it feels at this point in the battle to be on grass again, where you can actually walk around. Because, let me tell you, just going through those hills is just absolutely brutal. One excruciating step at a time. Oh, look at that. Centaur units like Ken love the grass. They move really, really far. And they also are almost completely useless in forest and in the hills, where they can't really gallop all that far. I'm gonna wait for my guys to catch up here real fast before I attempt to take this bridge. Alright. Let's do it. Now, does anyone else notice that it looks like these Rune Knights are wearing a bra on their breastplate? It seriously looks like they're wearing boob plate. I know I can't be the only person who notices that. Now, unfortunately, these guys aren't going to move either, much like the enemies earlier in the battle. They're just going to stay there and wait for you to move someone onto the bridge. Luckily, cavalry units in this game are not like cavalry units in, say, Fire Emblem, where they can move and then attack and then move again. So it's not actually suicidal to move a unit onto this bridge, as it would be in any number of more modern tactical RPGs. And actually, it looks like those Rune Knights aren't going to move at all, which is sort of surprising. I guess this guy just really wants to be a shish kebab. Barbecue him down. And there goes one of the Rune Knights. Again, not the greatest AI. Honestly, I'm starting to feel a little bad for these guys. I might just move Bouffant over so they have a chance. You might notice that Bouffant is starting to gain less experience when he kills enemies. That's sort of the game's way of keeping you from exploiting it too much. As your characters level up, they gain less and less experience from killing and attacking the same enemies. And strangely, it seems like some enemies, like the experience benefits from killing them starts falling off sooner than others. Like Dark Dwarves start giving less experience very quickly. Now that is an excellent level up. Good job, Luke. And here's Mr. Fishbeardface telling us we need to enter Guardiana. As if there were any question. There's not really anything else on this map that's worth looking at, in case you were wondering. That's pretty much the case in this game. in spite of the fact that you have access to overworld maps at various points in the game. Right? Not a whole lot of non-linear exploration made available to you here. Alright, that's going to be it for this Let's Play. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I know I've enjoyed playing. I'll see you next time.